when they give us our ministerial license, they give us license to make up words. So it's part of the gig, right? So Reverend Elsie is going to come forward. Where is Reverend Elsie? And Ike, come on down, Ike. You're going to come forward and run the mic for us, Elsia?
Yep.
All right, fantastic. Let's give Ike a wonderful hand once again for introducing us to the seats up here, and I'll give. If you have a question or a comment that you'd like to direct to Ike or myself, raise your hand, and Reverend Elsie will bring the mic. No.
Magic wand.
There's a funness in having the magic wand. I think we're going to get something going here.
Yeah, some funness. So tell, if you even a comment about how you like the film or what you like best about the film. Give Ike some feedback about what worked for you or what you found fascinating or interesting about the film. I know you guys have some interesting thoughts. I can see them. They're like little bloops above your heads right now.
You should give them all comment.
Yes, there's
As
one
you
over there.
even read them.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the freedom and expression of your young daughter. No restrictions.
6 years old, right? That's like the day after her 6th birthday party.
How old is she now?
It's not that long,
No.
6.5 or something.
Oh, so it's
Yeah.
just been a few months. Okay.
Yeah, it was a very last minute thing to put that footage in there. So we ended up, I did one take with them. I was like, what if I just sit the girls down? And you can, they're not here, so you can really see like the charm of Ava and Olivia, the older one. She's starting to think a little bit more about things. But Ava just, I think it's all these things. God's here, God's there, God's everywhere. It's just like crazy.
That's great. Now, have most of the audiences who've watched this movie been actual New Thought audiences, or have you been able to show it to people who you'd say are not of that ilk, and it gives them a better understanding?
Well, it's interesting because we are sort of dabbling in we're making a film about welcoming, affirming, reconciling. Those are all three different terms that mean the same thing, depending on what it's about. They're all Christian churches. It's part of the Christian movement to be totally inclusive and welcoming toward the LGBT community. So I've shared some of this with them, and they're like, yeah, it's really kind of all the same thing.
Yeah.
We were talking to a couple yesterday that like one of them is a Unitarian minister, and one of them is a United Church of Christ minister, and they're a couple. So it seems like a wide gap, but it really isn't anymore.
Yeah, it's I've shared with people a lot something that I don't think we talked about in the film, but that New Thought is the first denomination that I am aware of on this planet that accepted female clergy, gay, lesbian, transgender clergy, people of color clergy from the very beginning.
Yeah.
It was like a neutral, non-issue for the organization. It didn't really matter. In fact, I joke with Dr. Roger frequently about being a white male minister. He is now in the minority. So white male straight minister in the minority now in our ministry, because we have such a diverse ministry all over our planet. And that's something I'm quite proud about New Thought. We really truly walk that talk of acceptance.
Yeah, it's interesting. New Thought doesn't even talk the welcoming, affirming. The Christian movement is going through that now. Not all of them, but a pretty big percentage of them. They're going through that, and they'll ask me questions about New Thought. I'm like, well, that's not even a topic at a New Thought church. It's just they truly are welcoming of everyone. So
Yeah, we don't have to have a committee to sit down and have one of those groups.
less committees,
Right,
faster growth.
Yeah. What other
Toward Holy
comments or
Spirit.
questions do you have? Reverend Elsie will bring you the microphone. Great.
I would like to say, I'd like to say I love the puppet and how you included children in the movie, because really, like, a young mind that isn't very developed into like one thought about religion is a good thing to include in a movie about thinking about all these different things that are just so uncommon in most churches you find, or most religions. Like, they all have a sense of it, but they don't really they don't really discuss it.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. And it did certainly up-level the cuteness factor tremendously.
Yes,
Yeah, you got a
yes.
bunch of old stinky ministers
Yeah,
and
those
some
old,
cute kids.
a lot of diversity, but they're all old grown-ups most of
Yeah.
them. So, yeah, you know, the girls are interesting because, well, it's a new thought, and we discuss things. You know, you can see that Olivia has just shifted, my older one has just shifted to her middle name of being Brielle, so I'm sitting up here trying to think what I should say. She's not in the audience. But Brielle, as she is now, she has a different opinion than Ava has, and kind of a different opinion than I have.
Yeah.
And I was in one New Thought church, and this woman happened to get very upset with me because I wasn't telling my kids how it was.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm a little bit confused. We are in a New Thought church, so I'm kind of confused exactly what I'm supposed to be telling my kids how it is, because we discuss everything. It's like, well, what do you think it is this week?
Right, exactly, because it shifts, exactly. Yeah. I used to teach back here years ago when I first came to Mile High. I used to teach the preschoolers every week. And I remember being so stunned because they'd give me this curriculum, and I'd go in with the curriculum, and I'm all ready to teach these kids science and mind. And we'd sit down, and I'd be talking about God and how God is everywhere. And I'd say, where is God? And they'd say, in the trees and in the sky. A lot of things that your kids said. And then after a while, they'd like turn to me. Someone inevitably would turn and say, can we play now? And I remember going back over and over again and going, wow, these kids get it. It's me that has to keep reminding myself and be convinced. For them, it was like this natural, organic, yeah, God's everywhere. Let's go play. It was so easy, so wonderful.
Yeah, I think if we don't tell them how it is,
Yeah.
they know how it is. They don't really need to be told. They need to be told to not step out in front of a car.
Right, yeah.
They need to be told to eat something other than macaroni and cheese, you know. But they don't need to be told what spirituality or what spirit is, for that matter, because they're closer to the source, right? We're so far removed from it, in my opinion, the older we get, then sort of we start heading back too, right? But little kids, they're just like, well, this is how it is, right? And yeah, 30 seconds later, they're done with that conversation.
Right, oh yeah, big time.
And it's time to get on with the play. Like Ava says, it's all about, you know, playing, and what is that like? She says having friends, or her friends are her
Her
play.
friends, yeah. Yeah. Other questions that you have, comments?
What felt enlightening for me was when you talked about how even the religions that are out there, as far as being Catholic or Jewish, they too now are having new thought. And just think of a friend of mine who is a lesbian and also now a Catholic priest in a
Wow.
different aspect. I mean, it's like, yeah, that's right.
Mhm. Yeah, I joke a lot about how, I don't know if it's a joke, I think it's serious. I'd like to hear your opinion about this because it's kind of connected to what you're talking about. I think in every tradition there are the mystics and there are the fundamentalists. And the mystics, whether they've found a mystical connection through Judaism or Christianity or whatever faith, religious science, they all come to the same place, that we're all connected, there's one presence, they all come to that place. And then the fundamentalists argue about the quotes and argue about the doctrine and the dogma. And don't think for a minute that we don't have fundamental New Thought people, because we do. And you'll know you're fundamental when you make everybody else wrong. You know you're fundamental when you criticize other faith traditions. You know you're fundamental when you, I used to have a man in my congregation in Arizona who, if I gave a talk and I did not include a quote by Ernest Holmes, it was a bad talk that day. And he made it real clear to me, you gave a horrible talk, you did not quote Ernest Holmes. And so, you know, we have fundamental people. Fundamentalism is an attachment to ideas that we want to bash people over the head with, that we want to make wrong or right. That's fundamentalism. But mysticism, it's not that at all. It's oneness, no matter where it comes from.
And it's not always easy.
No.
It is not always easy. But that is awesome, and that is, I mean, the line between all these organizations and these models, as I call them, boy, it's getting blurred.
Yeah.
It is, I'm doing like a bunch of work with the United Church of Christ right now. They've got about 5,100 churches in the U.S. 25% of them are reconciling, affirming. I think they use the term reconciling. And, you know, when they take this LGBT affirming thing on, they take it on. Like, it's big, they really take it on. They go through a training, they all get certified, yada, 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 it's amazing. Andy has a cousin who's really high up in the Methodist movement in the United States, and she said they are probably gonna vote in the next year or two, they're gonna split into two totally different organizations, and it's all about the LGBT issue.
Wow.
That's it. You're either in, affirming, or they're reconciling. I don't know. They pretty much operate between those three terms, and they say it's going to split. They're going to split into two totally separate organizations. Those that are in, and those that are fundamental are on the other side of it. So, a lot of interesting stuff. I love to look at the theology, and it's very interesting what's going on. But the lines are definitely getting blurred as to what people, differences in beliefs get very blurred, which is nice, because I think what's rising up is love.
Right.
I think a lot of the language, right, is slipping away, or well, even Ernest Holmes, right? And I travel all over, so I'm in Unity churches and Science of Mind churches and independent churches and stuff, and it is interesting. Every once in a while I stumble into like a very Ernest Holmes church.
Yeah.
It's wonderful, and yet I sort of think, yeah, but Ernest was always about, this man, if you don't know him, he was always about researching and looking at everything.
Right.
It's interesting now it's its own model, but his model was looking at everything.
Like that.
And always being open
like
to
that
watching.
Michelle Medrano said in your film.
Yes. The woman is brilliant. She's